So let's talk about adding another page to the website. We've got this home page so far, but we want to add more pages. So looking back at what we did in the last video, right, we added this pages controller file using that Rails generate command. It generated out this file for us. We could have manually just added it in here by hand, but sometimes it's easier to just have it generate all this code for us. We will manually do some of these by hand so you get the feel for it. But all we did was we added this action, okay? This is a Ruby action or a method by typing this out here. And then we added the actual view itself here. And finally, in this routes file, we added this command here that says, hey, the home page needs to route to the pages controller and the home action. And when it does that, it knows then to go pull up this HTML document for us to see. So let's add an about page. Look at this workflow and follow along. This is the idea behind how to add pages to a Rails application. These kinds of one-off pages like your about page, your FAQ page, like frequently asked questions, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do is we go to our pages controller again, and we're going to make some edits. Before we do that, go down here and switch your branch. You usually don't want to make edits on the master branch. You want to make your edits on the other branches that you have. So if I type git branch, you can list out all the branches we have. In this case, we're currently on the master branch, but we want to move back to this site pages branch. So I can copy that, type git, make sure you click either on this or right next to it, git checkout, and then site pages. Let's check out that branch again, the one we were just working on. We're going to go back to it. So I hit enter, and it says we've just switched to that branch. Now what I'm going to do is make my edits to my code. So take a look at this workflow really carefully. The first thing I'm going to do is go back to my routes file here, okay? And above the root one, we're going to work our way upwards in this document, okay? So always leave your root down at the bottom here, that command. And right here we're going to write get, and we're going to say /about. Okay, and we're going to point that with that equals and then angle bracket right there. We're going to point that to the pages controller again, and this time we're going to point it to the about action. So if I save that now, take a look at what happens. I'm going to make sure my Rails server is running on a separate tab here, okay? So if not, let me just close this down to show you. I hit Control-C. You want to make sure you are in that same directory, Simple Codecast SaaS. You have to be in your Rails application directory. So make sure you're in there. And then once you are, you can just type bundle exec Rails S or Rails server, either one. Remember, so we hit enter. Okay, and now the Rails server is running, and I have that in one tab here. And then in the other tab, again, I'm in the application directory, but I'm here on a separate tab. You can open as many of these as you want, but just remember, if you're going to do any work, it's always going to open you up. Usually it will open you up by default in the root directory. You'll want to switch that over to the workspace / simple codecast SaaS directory. And that's where you always want to work out of. But I'll close that for now. Those are just for demonstration. Okay, so we have the Rails server running in one tab, and we have our command center here on the other tab. If I go and preview now, okay, and it's a good habit to just leave this open, your preview tab here, okay? I'm going to close out the one from Heroku. Okay, so we have this open. You'll see we have that, and we just added that change to this routes page here, this routes file. And remember, routes is located under config, and then routes right here, okay? So just remember that. It's in your actual Rails directory. You look for config and then routes. Okay, so we added this one line here to that file. And so what we're saying is, okay, whenever a user goes and asks for /about from our web address, we want to route it to a certain page. That's what we're saying by writing that code. So if I were to go to /about, we want to see the about page. Now, the problem here is we haven't added an about action to this pages controller. So that's what this error is telling us. It's saying, hey, we need to go do that. So we'll do that now. Again, keep in mind the workflow. The first thing we did was add something to the root the routes file here. Now we're going to go here back to this app directory and then go to the pages controller. And from here we're going to type def about and then end. So similar format there. Okay, so we just went back to this pages controller file and added a new action. So now if I go back, if a user requests this about page, okay, this is like our about us page for the company. If I hit enter, it's going to say, okay, now the action's there, you've done that, but we're missing the actual HTML template. We don't have anything to show here. It's saying we're missing a template. And that's okay. So what we do now is we go back here to the views folder. Again, views is under app. Okay, so app and then views, find that folder, and under pages here, you want to right click on pages and say new file, and we're going to say about.html.erb. Okay, so now we have an about page, and if I click on it, let's just put a placeholder there. We use the same format, h2 about us. That's what we'll put there, /h2. Now if I save that, you could put anything you want, but that's, just for consistency, let's stick with that. Save it, you want to click the save button. Remember to save all of your files as you make changes to them. And then we go back here, and if I refresh, you'll now see the about page is working. So there we go, we've just walked through the workflow of creating an about page, and we can always go back to the home page like this, right? So remember, anytime a user requests this about page now, it's going to take us to that page and we'll show any data that's on that page. So to wrap this up, just remember, out of habit, what we need to do from here is go back down here to a command prompt, not the tab with the server running. You want to go to the one that you have the command prompt on. You say, make sure you are in the actual application directory. And I'm just reiterating this over and over so that you remember to pay attention to these things. You're going to say git, okay, and sometimes you have to click right next to it, add, and then dot. Or better yet, why don't we just type git status first? And you can see all the changes we've made, right? We did 3 things. This is how you always add a fresh page to your web application. You take these 3 steps. You modify the routes file, the pages controller, or whichever controller you're working on, and then the about page, the actual HTML page we added. So we've seen all those changes we've made, and we're going to do git add dot, and then we're going to add all those changes. Now if I say git status again, you'll see, okay, Git is now aware of these changes here, okay? We're totally aware of them. Let's go ahead and commit them, and we just do git commit -m, and we'll just say added about page and route. We'll say added about page view action for the controller action, and then route. Okay, and I want to point out one last thing. You'll notice I'm using past tense here. You'll want to either stick to present tense or past tense. You could say add about page, but I'm just going to go with past tense. Just try to be consistent with your commit messages. So I'm going to hit enter now. Sometimes you have to click right there and hit enter. And there we go. We've saved that change now to Git locally here on the nitrous box. Let's back it up now on GitHub. And the way we do that is git push origin. Okay, and we're going to push up this particular branch, pages, site pages. So now when I hit enter, we've just sent over our changes to GitHub. And we can now verify that if we just open up a new tab here and go to GitHub and log in with our account, you should see your actual repository. You can click on it there, and you can see, okay, site pages were just deployed less than a minute ago, and you can even look at that particular branch. Remember, a branch is just another version of your site with certain changes added to it. And there's our latest notes, things like that. So feel free to explore, but we've just successfully added a new page. We've learned the workflow for adding these kinds of pages, and now we're able to actually build pages and add them to our website.